Picture this incredibly familiar and, let's be honest, often really frustrating scene. A timer rings in your house. You call out, "Okay, screen time is over," and your child immediately fires back, "But I'm in the middle of something." You reply, "Well, I warned you 5 minutes ago." And then, like clockwork, a complete apocalyptic meltdown ensues. We have all been there, right? It's a moment that leads so many of us to just conclude that warnings simply don't work. We throw our hands up in the air and think the whole system is completely broken. But here's the good news, and it's exactly why we put this explainer together. The problem usually isn't the idea of a warning itself, it's actually the way the warning is used. In this explainer, we're going to look at some fantastic research-backed strategies from Dr. Ömer Çelikkol to show you exactly how to fix this system, step by step, and turn what is normally a daily battle into a totally manageable routine.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. Why transitions fail. 2. Rethinking the warning. 3. The 5-part method. 4. Adapting for every age. 5. Pitfalls to avoid. And finally, 6. The 7-day practice. Let's start with Section 1, Why Transitions Fail.
So, why does sudden commands to turn off screens almost always fail? You know, it's really tempting to think it's just stubbornness, but the reality is actually a massive, heavy cognitive load. When you just shout, "Turn it off," a child is suddenly required to end a highly enjoyable activity, shift their attention entirely, tolerate a huge wave of disappointment, remember the family rules, and mentally prepare for a much less stimulating task, like, say, eating dinner or brushing their teeth. And they are doing all of this at the exact same time. For a developing brain, that is literally a massive cognitive traffic jam. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we are talking about. Dr. Çelikkol points out that our perspective as adults is fundamentally different from the child's perspective. We walk in and just see an iPad or a TV. But consider what the child is experiencing right in that very moment. An unfinished goal, a team of friends waiting for them online, a story left hanging, or a virtual reward they were just about to unlock. Shifting our empathy to their perspective doesn't mean we just remove the boundary or let them play forever, obviously. But it completely explains why a predictable transition is so much more effective than a sudden, jarring command.
Moving right along to Section 2, Rethinking the Warning. It is absolutely vital to understand both sides of this equation. First and foremost, a warning is not some magic, guaranteed cure that will make your child jump up with joy and say, "Thank you, parent, I would love to stop playing now." That's just not going to happen. It isn't a new negotiation, it's not an empty threat, it definitely isn't a lecture on the dangers of blue light, and it is not you shouting from the kitchen. Instead, a warning is a brief, calm signal. It gives them a mental runway to reach a natural stopping point, and it specifies exactly how much time is left and what the very next step is. It is simply a tool for predictability, designed to reduce the shock of an abrupt interruption.
All right, getting into the core of it with Section 3, the 5-part method.
Here are the 5 steps perfectly mapped out for you. Let's walk through them real quick. First, agree on the ending before use. Second, use a visible or audible cue. Third, give a specific instruction. Fourth, connect to the next activity. And fifth, follow through calmly. So the crucial point here is actually step 1. Notice that the method starts before the screen even turns on. If you do not agree on the ending beforehand, saying things like, "You can play until 6 o'clock," or "You can watch exactly 1 episode," the rest of the system completely collapses. A warning just cannot make an unexpected rule feel predictable if that original limit was never even discussed.
Let's look at steps 3 and 4 in action. Listen to this script. Finish this round, do not start another one, then we are going to dinner. This is a total masterclass in giving a specific instruction and connecting to the next activity. Notice how it creates a totally natural stopping point. Finish this round. It tells them exactly how to use the remaining 5 minutes, and it removes all the mystery of what happens next. The next activity doesn't even have to be fun. Dinner is just dinner. It just has to be perfectly clear.
Now, let's hit Section 4, Adapting for every age. Let's see how this builds across different age groups, because a toddler is obviously very different from a teen. For preschoolers, you want to keep it super simple. Use a visual timer and a very short statement, like 5 minutes, then tablet away and bath. Simple. As we move to elementary-age children, we actually shift the responsibility slightly. Ask them to identify the stopping point. Hey, what can you finish without starting something new? And for teens, you really must respect the social context. For them, it's often not just a game, it's literally a social hangout. So try something like 5 minutes to tell your friends you were signing off. Notice the progression here? As children grow, your goal shifts from complete parental control to helping the child monitor their own transitions independently.
Moving to Section 5, Pitfalls to Avoid.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how common these mistakes are. One of the biggest pitfalls is giving too many warnings. We often think counting down, like 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 3, 2, 1, is helpful. But doing this actually teaches the child that the early signals aren't real and they can be completely ignored. They learn they don't have to listen until you get to that 1-minute mark. Other pitfalls include inconsistency, where 5 minutes magically becomes 15 because, well, we get distracted. Or choosing an unrealistic stopping point, like asking them to leave a multiplayer game right in the middle of a live round. And please, whatever you do, avoid shouting from another room or using identity-based attacks like "you have no self-control" or "you are addicted." It just doesn't help.
So instead of attacking their identity, focus purely on their actions. Here's an incredibly effective script you can use. You started another round after the warning, the timer has ended, so the game needs to stop now. Notice what is missing here. There's no unhelpful lecture, no guilt trip, and definitely no negotiation. It focuses entirely on the agreed-upon boundary and the calm follow-through. When that timer rings, you don't reopen the discussion. You just hold the limit calmly and firmly.
And that brings us to our final section, Section 6, the 7-day practice.
All right, here is your game plan for the next 7 days. First off, don't try to fix every transition at once. Pick just one recurring transition, maybe it's screen to dinner or screen to bedtime. Before the screen goes on, agree on the ending. When it's time, use one visible or audible timer and give exactly one specific 5-minute warning. Tell them what not to start and state clearly what comes next. And most importantly, when that timer rings, follow through with 0 automatic extensions. Afterwards, just reflect calmly. Did the conflict get a little shorter? Was it easier to repair? Remember, the goal of this 7-day practice is not a perfectly cheerful child who never protests. The goal is a predictable, teachable routine that reduces the length and the intensity of the conflict.
A good warning does more than end screen time. It teaches the child how to stop. Over time, the deepest goal here isn't for you to have to give warnings for the rest of their lives. It's for the child to begin noticing time, planning an ending, and building a truly vital life skill. Learning how to successfully transition from one engaging activity to the next is a tool they are going to use forever.
So I want to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative question to consider. When your next 5-minute timer rings in your house, is it going to be a battle for control or a step toward independence? You now have the structured system, the scripts, and the knowledge to make it the latter. Implement the 5-part method, stick to your 7-day practice, and watch how just a little bit of predictability can completely transform your daily routine.